I just realized I never.
No worries. So what that does is that's where we put all of our processing power. So the computers that we have to use for this are very, very intense. So it takes 4 computers to run the wall, one that the person is operating, and then 3 render nodes. And so you can kind of understand the power we're working with. They have 156 physical cores on the CPUs, and then the RAM is at 256 gigs. So the RAM on these computers is bigger than a lot of people's hard drives. And they have to fly, and they still have a hard time with a lot of things. So what we do is we use this part of the screen that is all that the camera can see, and we push all of our render power towards that and use the rest of the screen kind of as reference images and as to help us with lighting. Because here's a good one. Let me share my screen real quick. Because we're using a giant LED, we're actually able to use it for lighting quite a bit. So we can do things like have little squares of white hidden in places around that act as our fill light. And we do a lot of that with the ceiling. Did I freeze? Am I still here?
You're here.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm still here. Sorry, this is...
Yep, now you froze. It's a technology night tonight. You're still frozen. I don't think he can even hear me at this point. These are the fun things about technology.
So are you guys taking roll for this class for extra credits extra?
No, and yes, I could see who came, but you're on here twice now, Kyle.
Good. That's how many
Okay.
should be on there. What was I talking about? Oh, frustum. So we're using all of that computing power to just affect the area that the camera can see, because it's such a big wall, like it's just shy of an 8K screen that's 40 feet wide. So we need all that rendering power to go to one specific area. And so we push all of that rendering power into the frustum, since that's all the camera can see. And that's what you saw moving around in that video link that I sent you. And that just makes it so we can keep up our frame rate. So everyone, let me restart that. Everyone know what Genlock is? Or do we need a little? I'll talk about Genlock. Okay, so this is more from old school broadcast. So basically, there's a shutter in your camera that's opening and closing, right? And so if you have multiple cameras in a studio and they're all videotaping something and you switch between them, if those shutters are out of sync, you run the risk of one of the cameras being black when you switch to it because the shutters weren't moving at the same time. So the same idea applies with our screen. We need to make sure that the screens are turning on and off, because LEDs flicker on and off. They're not a constant on, right? So we need to make sure they're flickering at the same rate that the camera is capturing an image. So everything is Genlocked together, so everything fires at the exact same frame. And that's what allows us to not see, if you take your telephone out right now and point at your screens, you'll see a line going like this all the way down your screen. To avoid that, we use Genlock. And that makes it so everything's at 24 frames a second all the time. It can't go over, it can go a little bit under. It dips to about 23.1 and 24 and just kind of fluctuates in there. But once you start getting under about 19 frames a second, it starts looking really, really bad. So we have to make sure that we have enough render power to keep us up at the 24 frames a second. And that can be tricky sometimes with how intense some of our scenes get. The other thing I want to talk about, I'm actually going to use, if you look at my image, you can see behind me, there's some blinds over there. And you see how it has this like pattern, this circle pattern that's coming out? That's called moire. And that's something that you're going to see a lot of when you're filming. If someone's wearing a tight knit shirt with like a very tight pattern, or in our case, you can actually see the LEDs and they'll turn into a bright rainbow going across the screen. So we have to make sure that the screen's always just a little bit out of focus to avoid having something like I pointed like that. Otherwise, you can tell there's a wall there, and you don't want that. If you are watching the newest season of Mandalorian, you can kind of see some of where the wall doesn't work super well in the scene from last week where they're walking through a market. Because you can tell that the people weren't lit the same way that they lit inside of the environment. And it creates this, what's called the uncanny valley, which is it's close to looking real, but it's off enough that we don't accept it as real. And that is going to come to the question that we had before we even started about pre-production. So with this kind of technology, everything that was done in post is now brought up and done in pre-production. So I'll use Ant-Man as an example. So majority of the newest Ant-Man movie was shot on a volume like this. And so all of those special effects that they would normally do after the fact have to be done ahead of time because you're actually using them on set. So, you know, if it was going to take a year to build out, you know, all the scenes in Ant-Man, you start a year earlier than you would have with your post-production because it now becomes pre-production work. And if you don't have that done ahead of time, it creates a lot of problems. The other day, there's an alumni that came in who has been the gaffer for the TV show Loki and for Mandalorian. And we were talking to him about how their process works for setting up for their shoots. And they, because they're shooting all of these episodes at once, they actually set it up so that everything's staggered. So 3 months before they shoot a scene on their volume, the people from ILM come in and talk with the gaffer and the DP and ask them what lights they might want to change, where they plan on placing the cameras, what items in the set they might want to move. And they make notes of that and go back and then recode and rebuild the environment to allow them to be able to make changes on the fly. So he'll actually be walking around set with an iPad and be like, well, that street light over there is a little too bright, so let me bring that down. And I want that light to be blue now, so let me change that. So they're doing all of this very, very extensive work in pre-production to make sure that they can actually have a production that goes off without a hitch. And it can be very challenging right now because people don't understand that that's what needs to be done. So there's a lot of educating, you know, these old school filmmakers on how things are kind of changing and updating now to be in to work in this space really. I need a sip of water. Jessica, do you have a question before I just ramble for the next 30 minutes?
Well, we have all this AI that's coming out. Is that going to be fitting into all of these backgrounds and
What's
everything?
that again?
All the AI we have coming out.
Yeah, so AI is super interesting. So right now, there isn't one that does good AI-generated 3D objects that are whole environments. But what I'm using AI for on a fairly regular basis is for pulling inspiration for the environments I'm creating. So I'd hope everyone's super excited for this year's Hall of Fame 13. Its theme is supernatural. So we're having a panel on our stage, and I wanted to design a wizard's room where he'd be doing his potions and stuff like that. So I went into DALL-E, the AI image generator, and I just started describing the room that I wanted to build. And it would generate images for me that I could then save and use as references so that while I'm designing it, I have something I can look at.
Oh, that's neat.
The other really cool thing with AI is having it help you along with like storylines or where you want to take things. So with the same example, I asked it to write a story about a wizard making potions in his laboratory. And it wrote me a 2-page paper on it, but it described the room he was in. So I was able to read that and start to get more ideas on how I wanted to design out the room because it was giving me those things. So for me, AI is very much a tool of inspiration right now. The things that it's doing are cool, but I don't think they're at the point where they can take over and kind of do it all. But for me, it's really, really good as inspiration. If you guys are doing your mood boards and stuff, there's a program called Pure Ref that is free. You can throw them a donation. It's just PUREREF, and it lets you just drag images from Google onto a whiteboard, and you just can drag all of them, and you can build out this huge this huge kind of library of images for inspiration. It's really, really cool.
Nice. I see
Yeah.
we have a hand raised.
Oh, Jaron, what's your question?
If you want to come off mute.
Yeah. It's actually Jaron. It's a long story, but because the school registration is Jaron, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, um, I'm interested in asking the question because I work for the union for IATI, and my concern is, do you think it's going to be a huge impact on the workforce because of virtual production and the AI?
I don't, because you still need the skilled hands to do the job. So I think that there's going to probably be less electrics, but there's going to be more grips. Because right now it's more about taking light away than it is adding it, because there's so much being put off by the wall. So I don't see there being a dip, but I do see a need for more and more people to understand how Unreal Engine works, because they need to be able to have a conversation with the person that's running the brain bar, which is the area where Unreal's being run, so they can describe to them in their terms what they need to see on the wall. So for some of you that weren't here maybe at the beginning, I was talking about one of our recent grads, Ace, and the reason that he was able to get a job before he graduated at this virtual production stage was because he taught himself Unreal. And he could light in Unreal just as well as he could light in the real world. And to be able to do both made him invaluable. And if that's something that you're interested in, I have a project that we're going to try and play. I think that's why I keep crashing Zoom, but we're going to try it. And I'm going to kind of walk you through how lighting in that space works and how you can do your storyboarding and stuff like that, animatics inside of it. But I don't see. Go ahead.
So do I need to open my laptop for this exercise instead of being on my iPhone?
So you shouldn't, you'd be fine there, but I think you're asking if you can use your school laptop to run Unreal. Is that what you're asking?
No, to see the video.
No,
Oh no, you'll be good. You'll be able to see it. It'll be a little small on your phone, but you'll be able to get the gist of it. I'm also going to give you guys a link to what I consider the best starting place for learning Unreal. It's the first project that I did in there. And it was able to get me to a point where I felt very comfortable in the space. So yeah, we can, I imagine we'll do questions here at the end. So I'll jump into that now and see if I can't crash Zoom again.
It doesn't take much to crash Zoom.
So give me 1 second while I get this project loaded. Let me scroll through here. Yeah, no, it was Pure Ref. Use PUREREF. We'll get you what you need. All right, that is up. All right, let's see if I can do this without crashing. All right, can you guys see this space here?
No. You can see that you shared the screen.
Did I shoot? It sounds like it's catching on fire. Hold on, give me 1 second. We'll see if nope, I crashed it. I'll be back. It's only kind of crashed. It's like, hey, blue wheel, I'm gonna die. And just keep saying it quit. So it looks like I won't be able to share this with you. But
And now we lost you again. It is.
I'm back. So it doesn't look like I would be able to share my screen with you tonight. It looks like Zoom cannot handle live streaming at the same time as running an Unreal project. So I will just go over it with you guys, and I apologize for that. But basically, the idea is that inside of Unreal Engine, you have pretty much all the same lights that you would have in the real world. So you have lights with barn doors, you have little spotlights that you can kind of place anywhere, and you can build the lighting from nothing. And so the the tutorial that I like to recommend is one that is called Slay. And what it does is it walks you through the process of how to work in Unreal when you kind of are a filmmaker. So what it does is it's going to actually take you from nothing, and it's going to show you how to gather reference images. It's going to show you what you should be looking for in them. And then it's going to give you an entire scene and tell you to delete all of the lights. And then it walks you through building all the lights back in. And so you can actually start to see how the lights affect the space, and how the lights will actually make your project look. So I'm gonna try and do this one more time. I'm gonna open up maybe an empty project because I want you to see that you can actually build a camera inside of Unreal Engine, and it will build a camera that is identical to the camera that you guys have. We can put in your chip size, we can put in your lens, your iris, and it'll look and feel just like the camera that you guys are getting in your launch box. So let's see if I can't not crash it this time. My poor little laptop.
You needed multiple laptops for this almost.
Yeah, right.
Well, while you're trying to not crash that, how has it been being a camera guy going into this?
So as a camera operator and DP, it's been very liberating to be able to really kind of dial in my craft, because I have more time to think about the shots and I get to work with the shots beforehand. So I can sit down and I can actually design the room around how I want to move the camera. If I know I'm doing a long dolly one direction, I can just build the building or the room I'm in longer that way, so I know I have enough space to do the move. It really gives you a lot more freedom when you're doing this, to be able to build the worlds that you want to build, and to be able to really think more about your craft and the story you're telling than so much on the technical side. Because the technical side is there, don't get me wrong, this is a very technical world that we're coming into, but because of the freedom it offers you, you can really expand what you want to do. So this, in 3 weeks, we're going to have a student in here shooting a short film that's a spoof on Indiana Jones. And he's going to be able to shoot inside a giant airplane hangar with 2 World War II planes, and be able to have this like just huge, massive expanse of a space to shoot in without the need to rent that space, find airplanes to rent, like basically make something that should have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for a few $1,000s. And so it's really liberating to be able to kind of shoot whatever you want to shoot. You know, we had another student that did a project on a foreign planet, and you know, you can't do that. We had a spaceship in the background that they were able to walk by. You can't do that on a set over in, you know, 3, because you just couldn't have that space. You could green screen it, but this way you get to see what it looks like, the actors get to see what it looks like, and it's very immersive. And the first time you kind of walk into this space, when something's up on the wall, you're taken aback at how real it looks and how much you can play with it and change things in real time. You know, the scene we use for the behind the scenes tour is a giant cavern with in Cambodia with like a temple on it, and it's insane. Like you feel like you're there. So it's been very fun to do this as a camera operator. All right, I'm going to try and share my screen again with a much less intense project, because it is completely empty. And let's see how this works. All right, can you see this?
Yes, we can say that.
Oh, all right. So my other project was a little too intense. So if you look here, we have our fancy camera, and you're actually able to see what it looks like inside here. And you can customize all of it for what you're shooting on. So who knows what the sensor size on their camera is? No one? All right.
No, I see at least a few that were just in portfolio too.
Well, yeah, mine's is I know I have a Micro Four Thirds and I have a Light Magic, but I don't know the exact sensor size.
Okay, that's fine. We'll use full frame DSLR. That'll give you pretty close to what your film back is for the Sony camera. So you can see here, we're seeing what this camera sees, and we can move it, and we can position our shots wherever we want to have our have our camera be, but you can also change your focal length. Let me make that bigger so we can.
I have the sensor size if you need it.
Oh, no, that's all right. I was just
All right.
doing a quick quiz at you guys, see how you did.
Cool.
So we can change our focal length to anything we want it to be. So if we want to shoot on a 50, we hit that, it goes to a 50. If we want to go crazy, shoot an 8mm, we can actually shoot an 8mm. So you're able to come in here, like I said, you can actually do all of your pre-pro in here. And we can change things like our aperture. So we can open it up to 1.4, and it doesn't change the way it looks here. But when we come down to our lens, and I've been working in 5 a lot, and this is 4.27 because 5 was crashing everything. You can actually come in here and change your focus. So you can do rack focuses and things like that. And then if you want to get into doing animations and stuff, there's this website called Mixamo, where you can actually download characters and bring them into the world and have them pre-animated, and then you can start building out sequences. So if I grab my camera, oh, we're freezing again. So you can drop these in down here in something called sequencer. And what sequencer is basically After Effects, where you can go through and keyframe all of your movements for your cameras, for your actors, all of that. So you're able to build out an entire world, and then you can just record it and export it as a ProRes. So everything in the space can be keyframed. So you can realistically go into the Unreal Marketplace and download something and start building a movie today. It's as simple as that. So the hard part is you guys are on Mac. So you can't go to 5 yet. They haven't pushed out the Mac update for 5.0. You would still be working inside of 4.27. So if you want to play with this on your Mac, make sure you get 4.27 and not 5. 5 is just going to crash your Mac over and over again. They have said that version's coming out soon, so we just got to be a little patient, and then I can be done with my Mac or my Apple or with my PC here that keeps crashing on me. Let me, since it seems that the project was the problem, let me stop sharing that screen, and I will bring up Mixamo for you so you guys can see what that looks like.
How big of a jump has it been learning Unreal versus some of the other software like After Effects that you mentioned?
It is quite a bit more, what's the word I want to use? Robust. It is, it's like that game Othello. It takes 5 minutes to learn and a lifetime to master. Inside of Unreal editing software, it's not that big of a difference. Here it's just a timeline with your video footage. So be able to jump right in and have it kind of be. No, are you guys there?
Yes.
Okay.
You're sort of breaking up though. I think you just froze.
I'm switching laptops. Give me 1 second.
All right.
I'm done with this PC. I don't know
It,
what
it does not like you at all tonight.
No.
Oh, the fun technology times.
So this is my day all day, every day. It's going, why is the computer constantly crashing? Just nonstop. This is my world.
Sean
Right.
has a question while we're.
Yeah. What's the question?
The first question I had was on the Unreal Engine.
Right.
You said that there was a tutorial that you recommend that you used.
Uh-huh.
You said it's called Slay.
Yeah, SLAY. I will put it in the chat again because I think I put it in there and then immediately crashed earlier. So there's the link to the docs for it. And this will take you through and show you where the project files and everything are. Because they give you the whole world to work with. So that you're able to, actually be able to jump in there and actually start doing things.
Yeah, I don't see a link, but
Yeah,
keep
it's
scrolling
weird.
up and down to see if anything comes up.
Your links keep disappearing.
Well, that's not very nice of it.
Majority of
it
them
was
are
fine
at
the first
top of
few.
at the very top.
Yeah, I mean, I see it right now.
There it is. Nope.
Yep,
All right.
there.
Yeah, Justin just dropped it there.
I guess some of us can see it and not everybody.
That makes it even more fun. All right, let me,
I mean, I have it open on two screens and can't see it on either of them, so.
all right. Let's try this from over here.
Jason also asked, is the Mixamo? Is it?
Yeah, I'll show you guys, I'll show you the guys that one in a second here. So this is the sleigh, now I gotta find the chat on this screen. This is too many screens. This is the sleigh project. It'll walk you through it. The videos used to be right on the Unreal Marketplace. I think they might have moved to YouTube since they switched over to 5, but I'm not quite sure. But this will walk you through everything. I know the videos for a fact are still up on YouTube, but this is what I was talking about earlier. This looks just like if you were to do editing inside of Premiere Pro, right? Like here's all your clips. So you can actually build out a whole movie the same way you would with different cameras, different angles, and you can do all of that right inside of Unreal. There's no need to go outside of it. And then you can just export this as an Apple ProRes and share it with whoever you want to share it with. The other site that I was talking about, Mixamo, is free. It's made by Adobe. I don't know how many staff members are in here. If you're a staff member, you actually can't use your staff sign-in. You have to use a non-paid subscription one because it's not part of anything. It's completely free. It's its own website. So if you try and log in with your full cell credentials as a staff member, it doesn't work. I don't know if it does for students or not. But you can see here, here's all the pre-made animations that you can choose from. And you can pick a person to apply them to. So if you come over to characters, they have, an ever-growing list, but there's quite a few in here. So let's grab this cool little mouse guy. So you can grab this cool little mouse guy and they'll put him over on the right-hand side there. And then you can come over to animations and you can give him any animations that you want. And he will go through and do the process for you. And then you can just download that and bring it right into Unreal. So if we want the mouse to, dance. So if we want the mouse to do the chicken dance, we just click on chicken dance and it'll take a few seconds to load and our mouse will start dancing. And then you can just download this whole thing, bring it right into Unreal, and then you can have an animated character in your piece. So super, super fun website. The other one that you can use is another free one from Unreal. If you would rather use realistic looking humans instead of a cute mouse, you can actually go to MetaHuman. I think it's metahuman.com. But this is another free website, and you can create super realistic looking people that you can use in your projects. And you can change everything from the plaque on their teeth to how big their irises are. You can pick eye color, custom, how much gray is in their beard. All of these things you're able to do for free. And then you can export that straight into Unreal and it'll take that character right into Unreal for you. But you can kind of see over here the level of detail that you're able to get out of these.
This would be something that can be used like as a background character and all too.
Yeah, it can be used as a background character or for you all, like I would recommend using this kind of thing for doing your storyboarding when you're doing your pre-pro, because you can actually design people that look like what your actors are going to look like when you make the film. And you can put in how tall they are. You can put in how much they weigh. You can design their eyebrows. It's really kind of bonkers, the level of when it doesn't crash. I'm just having a hard time. There you
That's
go.
the
It's
tune of
still
the
going.
night.
Yeah, right. And so you can really dive in and kind of create whatever it is that you want to create. And it's really, really, really cool. I'm trying to think what else I had on my other computer that I didn't get to show you guys. But here's some of the people that I've designed, but you can see, you know, just how realistic they look. But like I said, you can come in here and you can change their face style. If you come into teeth, you can pick where their teeth are, their color, what the plaque color is, how much plaque they have. You can change how their face looks. And these things are fully rigged already. So if you have an iPhone, you can actually use an app. I'm going to figure out some weird way to be able to show this to you. Called Live Link Face. And maybe we'll grab their face. It'll make a instant scan of the person's face. I don't know how to do this. It'll make a scan of your face and actually do all the motion tracking for you in real time, so that you, as you're talking, your meta human would be talking and their eyes would be moving, head moving, all in sync with you as you're going. So if you, as long as you have an iPhone, you can do that. The other cool thing about iPhones is they have a LiDAR camera on the back, and you can actually scan, 3D scan different objects in the real world to bring into Unreal Engine. So if you wanted to take your car and bring it to the beach without going to the beach, you can actually use your iPhone, scan your car, and then put it in a beach environment. So a lot of really, really fun things that you can do with that.
And what's the app again? Just so.
So there's two. Live Link Face is the face tracker. And then the one for scanning is called Scaniverse. It's SCANIVERSE. Both, and it needs to be, it can't be Android because Android doesn't have the LiDAR camera. And then there's one more thing I wanted to share with you guys. There's a company called Quasar. Quasar makes really cool lights. But they just released some white papers on something what they're calling image-based lighting. And the idea here is, how do you use real world images to light your subjects? So if I have a car driving, what images do I want reflected on the windows? And how is that going to affect skin tones and things like that? So what they did was they came out with a bunch of pamphlets that you can use to help you learn that. I have them printed out because I haven't got to read them yet. But you can download them for free. They're only about 5-6 pages each. But really, really, really cool that they're doing that, because they have things that look like Kino flow bulbs, but they actually will put out images. So you can have a rough image on something that is 4 foot by 8 foot that costs a lot less than, a $3 million wall. So you're able to kind of create some of these effects at home by just renting these lights. And that's all the links I had. So what other questions are out there? Jessica, did you have more questions for me?
I do, but there was somebody that had a hand raised that just put it down. So if I think
question. With those programs, are you able to, I guess, upload a picture of somebody or something, and make the shape and duplicate it?
So right now it needs more depth than one image could do. It needs the full thing. Give me 1 second and I'll see if this iPad is charged. If the iPad's charged, I can actually show you what it looks like when we do it. So give me 1 second.
well, at least we now know the image is not frozen because it's frozen. And it's not going and giving the poltergeist effect there. So we've made progress tonight, which is great.
The iPad's dead, so I can't show you. But basically, what it does is it takes a ton of pictures. It takes a couple hundred pictures as you move around an object, and it'll actually show you what parts it's scanned and which parts it hasn't. and it's doing real world pictures to get things like color and texture and things like that. And then it's using the LiDAR to get the depth, to know where things are receded. So it allows you to really kind of get whatever it is you want to be able to do this. So I'm gonna hold my phone up here. So this is a rock that I scanned. If you guys have seen the new Full Sail commercial on YouTube, there's a big scene that happens on my stage where there's a rock band playing on an alien planet. And after we shot, they said, well, we want to take the real world props and put them back into Unreal Engine so that we can get a wide shot that we didn't get the day of. So I had to go through and hand scan 56 rocks so that we could have the exact same rocks in there. So if you look at this picture, you can see here's our rock, and then down at the bottom is the apple box I had it standing on, but it's a full 360 image with tons and tons of detail. So you can see each individual divot on the rock. So that's why you need to have lots of pictures and use the LiDAR so that it has a real world scan. So this is something like an 8K scan of this one rock. So you're able to recreate things like entire rooms. When I was first learning how to do it, I was able to scan my entire living room. And you can then take those scans, bring them into Unreal Engine, and you can start working with them right there. Did that answer your question? Awesome. What other questions you got, Jess?
How should the students start preparing for learning about virtual production if that's something they want to do outside of school?
What a great question. So the first thing that everyone should do is watch the Halloween special that I made about virtual production last year. Let me pull that up real quick and I will get you the link to that. But basically what we did is we made a short film that had Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, and the mummy in it. And we went through and showed you how to do every step of the process. So we explained how camera tracking works. We explained how to build an environment. We explained how the editing side of works, how lighting it all works. There's also a lot of really fun videos on YouTube on the Full Sail page in general. So if you guys haven't ever just went and looked at the backlog of videos on the Full Sail YouTube page, I highly recommend it. The thing that's weird about this one is because it was a live stream, you have to go to the live section to find it. But it's right here. It's a little long. It's an hour and a half long, but it's worth it, I promise. And you don't have to watch the last 15 minutes because it's just Gary going from student to student asking how their day's going. But it's super informative and super fun. So I highly recommend you start there. The other thing you can do is to pop on YouTube and start looking at tutorials that people are doing. There's more and more coming out. That Facebook page that I recommended at the beginning, Unreal Engine virtual production, is great because it's everyone from, you know, full-on DPs that own their own studio with huge screens all the way down to people who are inventing stuff in their basements. And so you can pick the level of intensity that you want to get into by that. The other thing is just download Unreal Engine. It's totally free. It takes $0 to be able to mess around with the software. And I swear it's a lot of fun if you're not doing it at the same time as a Zoom. You'll get lost in it and you'll be able to build out these really cool scenes and kind of start to play with things, and you will get sucked in and start having a really, really good time. There is a ton of tutorials on the Unreal website that will walk you through whatever it is you want to learn. Even if it's not, they recently changed the website and I can never remember what they changed it to. Even if it's not to build for TV or movies, you just want to make your own video game, like you can totally come in here and start making your own video games. Learning resources. So they have, get out of here. Learn online. So you can come in here and you can pick if you want to do games, if you want to do film and television. They have just basically like full on, that's what it is, it's dev. So it's dev.full.epic games. So this is where all of their tutorials are listed, and it'll let you do whatever you want to do. If you want to make a video game, if you want to make a complete animated cartoon, if you want to do storyboarding, there's tutorials for all of it because they just want people to use their software. So that's really kind of the best places to start if you're interested in it.
And why should they be interested in it? What else can they do besides film and video games with this?
With Unreal Engine, like
I mean, besides specific like feature films, like what other kinds of productions can they do?
I mean, you can literally use this for any production that you're doing. Music videos, commercials, short films, documentaries. We did a documentary on the stage about a Hawaiian ukulele player, and the whole crew was in Orlando, and it would have been too expensive to fly them out to Hawaii to do the video shoot. So we built a pontoon boat, brought the pontoon boat onto the stage, and we were able to shoot off the coast of Hawaii at sunrise for the entire day because we control the sun. So we're not rushing to try and beat the sun. We don't have to have two boats out on the water. You don't have to get seasick. You don't have to be away from your air conditioning. You're able to do it all in one space. And all it took was 2 student PAs, one on each side of the boat, going like this to make it look like it was bobbing up and down on the waves, and it sold perfect. So whatever it is you want to do, you can realistically do now with nothing more than the camera that you have from the school and a green screen. And it doesn't even need to be a good green screen anymore. When I started doing this, because I'm gonna do that old timer, when I started doing this, if you didn't light your green screen perfectly, you couldn't get a key. And now inside of Zoom, I can click a couple buttons and it'll key out my entire world behind me, like Jessica's, in real time. So you can go to Home Depot, get some neon green paint a wall, and you have a full working studio with your light kit and your camera. And you can take that footage straight into Unreal, key it, composite it, and have the animations and worlds behind it, all from all of the gear that you got from the school. And this is honestly, this is where everything's going. It might not happen as fast as we think it's going to. I think it's going to be a very slow rollout, but this is very, very much where the film industry is headed, is doing things virtually like this, because you can minimize the amount of travel. It saves a ton of money, saves a lot of time when you don't have to, you know, if for me here in Orlando, if I wanted to shoot at Cocoa Beach and I wanted to shoot at my house, that is 5 hours in the car that I'm paying people, or I can scan my house and make a fake beach and I can shoot all of it on the same stage without having to repo anything. We break for lunch and the next scene's up by the time we come back from lunch. So it's really going to change the way people think about filmmaking, and hopefully make it so places like Orlando and other small places that don't get a ton of film work are able to start getting film work, because it's democratizing the film industry. You know, something like Everything Everywhere All at Once winning the Best Picture this year is a huge proponent for this kind of technology and how it's getting into the hands of people that just want to tell good stories, because you don't need a ton of money to do this anymore. You can do it with your 3-point lighting package and your Sony camera and your Mac laptop and make something as good as Everything Everywhere All at Once. There's nothing stopping it. And now you can be in any part of the world or in places that don't even exist without needing to leave your own house. So it's really going to change what's told and how it's told, because there's no barriers. All the barriers are being taken away. And that to me is very exciting, because the next Oscar-winning movie could literally be from one of you guys that you made in your house using Unreal and a green screen.
We've got a question from Nathaniel.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Kind of a follow-up question to that, followed by a second. The first being, with regards to the ability to, you know, to work anywhere, etc. Are you seeing anyone leveraging tax credits based upon, you know, this type of technology?
Yeah, so that's a
Could
lot
be
why,
anywhere.
yeah, well, that's why a lot of them are being built in Atlanta still. Because
Gotcha.
they're still using like pine wood and all that stuff up there because it is they're still working on getting those tax credits because they're still shooting there. So the tax credits are still kind of king. I will say though that stages like mine are becoming fewer and far between than they were at the beginning, because now shows have found that it's cheaper to rent a standard sound stage, and then rent the LED volume, have a company come and build it. They'll keep it up for the shoot and then it strikes when it's over. So the newest Batman, all of the like sky tower scenes and all the motorcycle scenes were all shot on a virtual production stage that was built just for that and torn down as soon as it was done. And then for the stage in London that they built for House of the Dragon, which was massive, they boxed up and put it away as soon as that show was done because they wanted to do other shows in that soundstage. So it's going to become a thing where, you know, you're probably renting the spaces more, and then renting someone like ShowPro students to come in and build out the LED wall. You shoot for your 6 months and then it gets moved somewhere else.
That was actually a good segue into the second question, which is, you talked about pre-production, very well in the tech viz. When you're actually, shooting though, does your interactions with the DIT change at all, given the fact that you have your stage folks there, your volume folks there?
So it doesn't. So the way that the stages run is that the wall is in a color space called PQ, which is basically just HDR. So it matches as close as it can the color and contrast of the real world. So that when you're shooting in your camera, we use an Alexa Mini LF. So we're shooting in log C. So the wall, because it's meant to look the same as the real world, it doesn't need any special color correction to the wall. So we shoot it like we normally would, and then it goes through the color pipeline like it normally would. Everything from capture through post is pretty much the same, unless you're, Disney doesn't use their ceiling for anything but reference, because when you lay out your LEDs, you lay them out by color and they can spin, because if you get on a microscope, you actually see a little dot that's RGB, right? So their ceiling, it's impossible to get the colors on the ceiling to line up with the colors because there's no way to make the pixels go the same like this. So Disney replaces their ceiling shots on every single time they show it, right? So they're in their hand cutting out the ceiling and replacing it digitally. So, but that's the same as if they would have done a green screen, you know what I mean? But the hope here is that it would, once it's recorded on a stage like mine, it would go through the post process exactly as it would as if they weren't on a stage. It works just like it would as if they had shot it normally.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And it actually covered what I was going to ask about post-production.
We're on top of it.
Does anybody else have any questions? We're up to 9:06.
Yeah, I'm going to, I know I put it in here earlier. Which computer am I using? I have 5 video screens around me. It's too many. Here's my, oops, I forgot to see. Here's my email address again. If you guys have any questions about the space, about Unreal, please reach out. I guess I'm gonna, since I ended up turning on this other laptop, let's go see the stage real quick. It's a little messy because of the shoot that was in there today. But we'll go take a look at it, and I will throw just a I'll throw just a generic image up on the wall for you guys so you can see it. So this is the back room. Oh,
You're on the wrong camera still.
His email never popped up either.
I'm gonna repost that.
That run everything. These are called Bromptons. These are what actually put the video image.
Unmute the other audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the computers that run the wall. Like I said, there's one for the left side, the right side, and the ceiling. These are called Bromptons. These are what actually take the video footage from the computers and put them up on the LED wall. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just swipe these buttons. We're gonna walk out here. and you guys can see the space. So it's pretty massive. Once you get in here and get around it. That's the ceiling up there that I said we can raise and lower. We actually lowered it for this shoot today because they wanted the talent to be a little bit brighter. But you can see just how massive the space is. So we have 401. Nope, we have 410 tiles. Each tile is broken up into a smaller tile, and they just pop right out like this. So you can actually have replaceable pieces in case they break. So they're 9 inches by 9 inches, and they're held in by magnets and what looks like old school printer connections. And they just pop right back in, and it turns right back on. So you can see we have all of this stuff set up because we're doing a TV show today or tomorrow. We did our previs today, and that's another thing is we force all of our clients to have one previs day. We won't let them shoot where they just come in and shoot because we want to make sure they know what they're getting into because it's such a new technology. So we make them actually come in and do a previs day so that they can understand the tech and make sure that what they want to shoot is going to work. So that's kind of the space. We have some area lights that we hang from the ceiling that are all controlled through a computer app. So we don't have to get up there. And then in the future, they're actually going to be plugged into Unreal Engine, and they'll be able to actually show what the wall would look like if it existed where the light panels are. So that's kind of the space in a nutshell. So at least you got to see it a little bit. And then, like I said, check out those videos because those videos are really, really fun and go into a lot of what this space can actually do.
Yes, Nathaniel.
Thank you. Just a quick question regarding the lighting that you have in the studio. Watching some other master classes, they're a couple of years old, obviously, when this was starting. The question was regarding, are you having any issues with matching color temperature? Specifically, they were saying some of the earlier RGB, and they were trying to get to more amber, and that broad spectrum wavelength to prevent the faces from changing color.
They've gotten much, much better. Ours are very close. When we brought in a spectrometer, I want to say we were at like 90 CRI, maybe 93 CRI. So we're not, as high as you would like to be, but not low enough that it's really making a difference. The thing that's very confusing and still confusing for me is that everything shoots at 56K in here. So your camera's white balance is always at 56K because that's what the wall's putting out. And so you would be like, well, I want this scene to be a little bit warmer, so maybe I should go up to 6,500. But realistically, you want to do that in game engine, and you want to add a post process to warm it up, and you keep your camera where it is. Because as you start to mess with your white balance with the LEDs, it's actually changing kind of the quality of light. So even if we're doing a sunrise or something like that, to our eyes, it's going to look bonkers orange, but in camera, it's going to look how it's supposed to look. So it's going to depend on what stage you're on, but most of the stages are running at 5,600. Some of the older stages had a tendency to go very red. So you had to put some extra green into the camera when you're white balancing. But ours has been very, very good to us. Any other questions?
This is a quiet group.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, this is Paul. I was just curious. I'm actually in the certificate course, so I don't get the Sony cameras. Is there anything that you went through today that will not work with the Blackmagic 4K cinema cameras?
Nope.
Okay. That's about
Nope,
it.
it'll all work. And then the good thing about the Blackmagic cameras is they should have a time code in, right?
Yeah. It's
Time code in is
follow up, yeah.
in Genlock are kind of the two big things. So as long as you have that, you're going to be set.
All right, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
I noticed when you pulled up Unreal, you used DSLRs. So is there any limits at all?
The big one is for right now, if you want to do it in real time, you need to be able to Genlock. You can pull it, you can kind of make it happen with the HDMI cord and a Blackmagic box inside a computer with a DSLR. But most of my freelance work was DSLR cameras, so I'm comfortable with the frame size. And that's why I picked that one today. But yeah, the big thing is when you're doing your camera tracking and you're compositing, you want to make sure that the frames that are coming out of the camera are matching up with the right frames in the Unreal Engine. So you need either time code or Genlock to do that.
So is Genlock hardware or software?
Genlock is hardware. Time code is software based, and either one will work. Genlock has to be on my kind of screen. We're using an LED wall. Time code will work just fine for green screen.
Okay, so another question. So if I was to be in Unreal and I'm shooting on my Blackmagic, I don't need any extra hardware, like far as
You need either an Aja or a Blackmagic card in your computer to get the video footage into the computer.
okay.
And right now, Blackmagic and Aja are the only input cards that are supported by Unreal. So you're kind of locked into those two. Or AJA. I always say Aja, but I don't know if it's Aja or AJA. Any other questions?
Well, there's been some good questions.
For sure.
I think you've covered all mine.
All right. Well, if you guys find your way here during Hall of Fame in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a couple things going on the stage, so stop by and say hi. And if not, when you're here for graduation or whenever you're in town, just feel free to drop me an email.
And just
Also, one more question. Do you have any sites that recommend like to find the hardware? Because I'm trying to look for it so I can buy it for my MacBook Pro or my iMac.
So you're gonna because you can't put accessories into your Mac, you're gonna not be able to find that. You're gonna have a hard time doing that on a Mac after, if you want to bring in your footage, because you can't put expansion cards into your Mac, and they're expansion cards. So let me pop over to this computer, and we will pull this up. Zoom, share screen, Chrome.
So would a capture and playback work?
Yeah, you need it to be recognized by Unreal, and that's where the tricky bit comes in. So for Blackmagic, you want the deck link 8K. So this is what you would want for your, you don't need to get that one, you can get this one. This is what you would need to add to your computer, and because Macs don't open up and allow you to add IO cards, you couldn't do that. The Aja box is an Aja Kona. I don't think you need the 4. But you can see the price difference from Aja to Blackmagic, right? So this is the card you would need for the Aja side. So Blackmagic works fine for $400 instead of $3 grand. So yeah, so basically you need a way to get time code and video into your computer if you want to do real-time compositing. If you don't want to do real-time compositing, you want to do it after the fact, you don't need anything else. You can record green screen on your camera and bring that green screen footage into Unreal Engine, and you can do your compositing and everything and export right from there. No need to have another thing involved.
So you've talked about green screen, you've talked about virtual production. What would you say is the big difference between the two? And
The big difference between the two is that what I'm doing on my stage with LED walls and virtual production is final pixel. What you shoot, what you have in your camera, you're done shooting. There's no more work involved. When you do it with green screen, there's a little more work involved because it's in real time, but you don't see it in real time. You still have to export it once you're done recording. So basically you record on the camera and on the computer, and you can see what's happening in real time, usually around 14 frames a second. And then when it's done, you actually export the clip. So there's just an extra step involved. Both are considered virtual production, though. It's interchangeable between green screen and using an LED volume.
Okay. Do we have anybody else with any questions?
I have another question. Is there any kind of tutorials or anything you might be able to look up on YouTube to actually understand how to use the IO card and how to hook it up and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there is a Full Sail grad who has a YouTube channel called Film Riot. Who has some really great, is this him? It's not gonna tell me. Let me see if I can find the one that is about the Mars rover. Basically, he has a billion really cool tutorials. And we'll search for Vive. So this is the one that you want. This one kind of walks through how to set up everything. He shows you how you can do it with your cell phone. Bunch of just really, really cool. I'm gonna send this whole query into the chat. He does a really good job of breaking this down and showing you how you can do things on the cheap, and he'll walk you through everything. Any other questions? That's a good one. Yeah, and all this information too is on that first website I sent you, the dev website for Unreal Engine. They'll have tons of tutorials for anything you want to learn.
Man, I didn't know that Film Riot was a graduate from Full Sail. I've been subscribed for a while now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Full Sail grad.
yeah, I've been watching them for a minute. That's all I got.
All right, well, I appreciate everyone for coming and hanging out with me and putting up with my computer crashing.
Well, thank you for coming out tonight and, well, coming in there.
Yeah, I didn't leave yet. I'm still here.
This has been completely fascinating.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, all right.
All right.
Thanks, Kyle. You were an absolute superstar.
Oh, thanks, Gio. I didn't even know you were here.
Yep. I came in quietly.
He snuck in.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I was happy to hang out with my DCBS guys.
Yeah,
appreciate
everything, Kyle.
You did a great job, Kyle. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I'm kind of excited to go look for this equipment and start just tinkering with the program. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Yeah, get involved. Like I said, if you end up with questions, just feel free to drop me an email. If you haven't heard back from me in 24 hours, send it again.
Okay, and when I'm in Florida, I'll send you an email.
Yeah, please.
All right, thank you so much.
And you can always ask your teachers for his email since we all worked with him.
Yeah, I haven't, but thank you, Jessica.
Well, for the recording.
Thanks for sneaking in, Gio.
Hey, Kyle.
Absolutely wouldn't miss it. I mean, this is just so fascinating and literally cutting edge stuff. So this is where everything is going.
Was the screen your idea?
No, it was brought up by someone in the film masters program who suggested we build one. And then I just got involved once I got wind of it. So there's two people that run the stage currently. There's me. I handle all the film side, bookings, things like that. And then there's another person, Marcella Wilbanks, who is a Full Sail game art grad who does a lot of the Unreal side of things. I like having two cameras. I like being able to do that.
I know, it's been kind of interesting.
All right. Well, everyone have a good night. And
thank you for
yeah. Drop me emails if you have questions. Happy to help.
I'm gonna stop the recording.